Hello everyone, welcome back to lesson number 11 where we're talking about definite and indefinite integrals. Right now we're still talking about indefinite integrals, and that just means that there's no numbers on the actual intervals themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3.5 questions right here to just show you guys some stuff, and then we're going to actually start talking about finding that c, because I keep seeing in the very first example, plus c plus c plus c. So how do we find what the c is? Well, let me do a couple more of these just to make sure that we have a good grasp on how to find the antiderivative of just basic functions, and then we'll talk about that here in the second part of our video for today. So just like before, guys, we said that integration of x cubed, remember what we're going to do is we're going to take our value, again, the constant leading coefficient right now is 1, so we have 1, x. We're going to add 1 to the exponent, and then whatever the exponent is, we're going to divide by that number. So the integration of x cubed is just x to the fourth over 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and do negative 6. I'm going to leave that alone. X, I'm going to add 1 to the exponent. So 1 plus 1 is 2 over 2 plus c. So we can finally simplify 1 down. So it's going to be 1/4 x to the 4 minus 3x squared plus c. And again, I got that plus c. So how do I find out what that plus c is? Well, I have to give you another condition, which you guys are going to see down here in the next example. But let's move on to the other couple that I want to do here for these problems and say, okay, well, let's find x to the pi. Guys, pi is just a number. Pi is just a number. So you take pi and you just add 1 to it, and that's it. It's your exponent's going to be pi plus 1. And so whatever the exponent is, it's just going to be that right there. So the integration of x to the pi is just x to the pi plus 1 over pi plus 1. Pretty easy. Now, students always get this one confused. The square root of pi. What a lot of people do is they do pi to the 1/2 and they try to add 1 to 1/2. No, this is a number. This is simply a number. So this integration is going to be the square root of pi x. That's it. It's just the number x. So plus c. So that's going to be the answer to this particular problem right here. All right, so just make sure you guys take care of that. So let's look at example number 5. Number 5 says evaluate this function. You guys can see it's a quotient. One thing that we haven't learned yet to do is how to integrate a quotient function. So what we can do, just like we did in example 4 and 5 on the previous page, is we can rewrite this. And so we've actually talked about this before. Let's rewrite this function to something that's a lot more manageable. So I can actually take and split up my numerator on our problem set and look like this. And then I can simplify down a little bit more and then actually look at exponents. So this is going to be x squared over x to the 4th. Well, that's just really 1 over x squared. Well, 1 over x squared is just really x to the negative 2 power. The next one is going to be 3x over x to the 4th. Well, that simplifies to 3 over x to the 3rd. So that would just be 3x to the negative 3. And then 1 over x to the 4th is just x to the negative 4 dx. Okay, so now what we want to do is now integrate this. So just like before, we're going to add 1 to each exponent, each power, and then divide by that number. So x to the negative 2 plus 1 is going to be negative 1. So we divide by negative 1. 3x to negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Divide by negative 2. And then x to the negative 3 over negative 3 plus c. So be very careful that, remember, we're adding 1 to our exponent. So that means we are going to get these values right here. And so our final answer for this problem is going to be negative 1 over x. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put the negative at the top. So negative 3 and then 2x squared. And then minus 1 over 3x cubed plus c. And that's it. So a really complicated question. Rewrite. All right, so that's how you do question number 5. So I'm not going to do example number 6 with you guys, but I'm just going to show you how to do it. All you have to do here is FOIL. And so you'll get 6x squared minus 15x plus 4x minus 10. And you're going to rewrite this as x to the 1/2 power. And you do it exactly like you did number 5. It's kind of atrocious, this question, because then you're going to do this over x to the 1/2, this over x to the 1/2, 4x over x to the 1/2, and then negative 10 over x to the 1/2. And you do the same thing. You would just simplify each piece, then you would bring the negative exponent up. The positive about this one is that, well, you would combine these terms actually, but the positive thing is that 2 of your 3 terms are actually going to be positive exponents. But this just requires a lot more work because you have to FOIL it out, then you have to split your numerator, and then you have to individually integrate your pieces. So that's how you would do that question if you choose to do so. I think it's just too much to do in one particular problem. There's a lot of errors that can happen here, but I just want to talk about what to do with it, but that's what you got to do. What we want to do here is we want to look at the question, and it says f of prime of x is equal to 3x minus 1. I want to find what f of x is. I want to know what the actual function is, and I don't want to plus c. So I know what is f of x. What is the function that have both these conditions? So when I integrate 3x minus 1, but it also applies that f of 2 will equal 3. So what do I need to do? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and we're going to integrate our function like we've been doing before. We're going to integrate 3x minus 1 delta x. And so when we get this, we're going to go ahead and do 3x to the second all over 2. And then we're going to integrate negative 1, which is negative x plus c. So this right here is equal to f of x. So now, ladies and gentlemen, that's a great function. But now that I know what this is, now that I know that if I plug in 2 to our function, right, if I plug in 2 to our function, so everywhere I see a 2, I'm going to plug in, or everywhere I see an x, I'm going to plug in 2, plus c, I'm going to get that 3. Now I'm able to find out what c is. Finally, we can figure that out. You will be given this. You have to be given an initial condition in order to solve this, right? You have to be given this. So this is going to be 4 times 3 is 12. 12 over 2 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. So I get 4 plus c is equal to 3. So I get that c is equal to negative 1. Right? I get that c is equal to negative 1. Therefore, my final answer is going to be f of x is going to be equal to 3 halves x squared minus x minus 1. Minus 1. So now I can figure that out. So knowing the initial condition, you're able to find out what the c is. Okay? So that's all that you have to do. So similarly here, I'm going to integrate f of x is going to be equal to the integration of x squared minus 2x plus 2. And then this is going to give me my c once I'm done with it. So when I integrate this, f of x is going to be x cubed over 3 minus 2x squared over 2 plus 2x plus c. I'm going to plug in 3 everywhere I see an x. Right, everywhere I see an x, I'm going to go ahead and plug in 3. And then I'm going to set that equal to negative 1. And I'm going to get that c is equal to negative 7. Therefore, my final answer is going to be what you see here, minus 7. So now I can replace c with my actual value here. So now let's look at c. So f double prime of x equals 2, f prime of 4 is equal to 1, and f of negative 1 is equal to 2. So we are given a second derivative, and we want to still figure out what f of x is. We're still looking for what f of x is. So f prime of x is going to be the integration of 2 dx. It's going to be the integration of our second derivative, right? So our first derivative is the integration of our second derivative. So this is going to simply be equal to, very easily, 2x plus c. Well, that's why we're given this first condition. We're given that f prime of 4 is equal to 2 times 4 plus c. That's equal to 1. So c in this case is going to be equal to negative 7, right? So it's going to be 8 plus c equals 1, so c is negative 7. So f prime of x is going to be equal to 2x minus 7. And then just like before, guys, we start with what we just did. It's okay, now let's integrate. So f of x is going to be equal to the integration of 2x minus 7 dx, right? Don't forget your dx. That's something else that we're going to be really big in this class. And so the integration of 2x is just going to be 2x squared over 2, which is going to be x squared, minus 7x plus c, right? So our new c. And so when I plug in negative 1 to our function, right, negative 1 to our function, I'm going to get 2. So that means that c is going to be equal to negative 6. So our actual function itself is going to be, I'm going to write right here, f of x is going to be equal to x squared minus 7x minus 6. And that's the answer. You don't have to factor that or anything like that. That's the answer given this. So if I were to plug in negative 1, I would get 2. If I were to take the derivative and plug in 4, I would get 1. If I take the second derivative, I'm going to get 2. Then just the value 2. All right? So that's going to be that question right there. And D is exactly what you do with C. For question number 8, it says, given the graph of f of x passes through the point 1, 6, and that the slope of the tangent line is equal to this. So it's telling you it's equal to this. Find f of 6, right? So it's telling this. So right now we know that f of 1 is equal to 6. That's the same thing. And we're asked to integrate 2x plus 1 dx, right? That's going to give me what f of x is equal to. So it's just another way of writing the question. Remember, the slope of the tangent line is the derivative, right? So this is how we were to extract that information from our problem. So when we integrate this, we get x squared plus x plus c. That's going to be equal to what f of x is. We're going to go ahead and plug in 1. We're going to plug in 1 to our function, and we get this. And we're going to set that equal to 6. We're going to get that c is going to be equal to 4. So f of x is going to be equal to x squared plus x plus 4. And then, ladies and gentlemen, all we have to do to find f of 6 is, you guessed it, go ahead and plug in 6 everywhere you see an x. And we're going to get that this answer is 46. So this answer is going to be 46. So ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're going to stop with the indefinite integral questions. And so in the next video, we're going to start talking about the definite ones. So I will see you guys in the next video.